Hi, this is Julia, and I welcome you to my very first episode of Study 365. So, in our first episode, I'm going to teach you about vocabulary studying. This can be applied to a foreign language study. This can also be applied to your native language study. So, if it's English, adding some new words to your vocabulary here. But it can also be applied to any other subject area where you need to study terms. Keep in mind that not every strategy might be for you, so you may want to start playing around with them when you study and apply a new one here and there and see how it works for you. But also keep in mind that some might need some practice, so just because they don't work the first time doesn't mean you can toss them right away. Sometimes it's a matter of getting used to a new way of studying or preparing your brain for a new way of storing information. All right, let's just go through them. Exactly. First thing is we got to think of words. We oftentimes forget about thinking. So if you are studying a new language, think about the words that you want to study. Think about them in your native language first, obviously, and then you go on to other study tips. But thinking about a certain word is the first step that you want to take. Once you've thought about the words, start writing them down on a list. So again, if it's in a foreign language and you're sitting on the bus and you're like, oh, I want to know what to drive a bus means, you're going to write down to drive, you're going to write down the bus on a list, and then you later can look it up in a dictionary or wherever. But you want to make lists, and this can be in a little notebook that you can put in your purse or in your back pocket at all times, or it's a big sheet that you have in the bathroom. A lot of people do that. So make lists, actually write things down. If it's electronic and you work well with electronics, that's fine as well. So once you've thought about your word, once you've written it down on your list, then you go look it up in a dictionary. Ideally, you have a nice big two-way, for example, German-English, English-German dictionary, or a one-way English-English dictionary if it's just English terms that you're adding to your native tongue if it's English. Or if you have a geographic term for your geography studies, then you look it up in a specific source for that subject. And then you add it to the list that you've made. So I had to drive and a bus. So you looked it up. To drive in German, for example, fahren, and bus, der Bus. So you complete your list. Even if it's a new word in your native language or a terminology for geography, say it out loud. The more you actually use a new term or new vocabulary item, the better it will stuck in your brain. So it takes about 16 times to memorize a new word. So that means writing it, saying it, etc. This is the next step after writing it down. Say it out loud, or you could do it before. Say it out a couple times. So make sure your brain associates the sounds of it to it as well. So now you've written them, you've said them out loud, you've listened to the words. Now it's time to actually personalize and use a new word. Whether it be in a foreign language, you had ich fahre den Bus, so you're actually applying it and personalizing, like I am driving the bus, or oh, the bus driver is driving the bus. So you're changing the way you're using certain words or one word depending on what your list included, and make it more applicable to a certain situation that will come up more frequently in your everyday life or where you actually want to apply it. So make sure you think about ways of personalizing and playing with a certain word or term. And you can play with words even in other ways. You can make rhymes, you can make rhythms when you're studying them. If it's a term in geography, maybe there's an antonym to it as well, or even in a foreign language. So you can pair them up and study them together. Or if there's a certain form of a word, such as a verb form in German, you could have a past tense form. Study them together and use them as such. You may also want to listen to songs, and maybe a word comes up in a song, and then you memorize that lyric of the song. So think about other ways of engaging with your new term. Please don't forget to quiz yourself. It's one way to just read lists or writing down terms, but then you have to actually know whether you know a new term. So by quizzing yourself, you can make sure where you're at and understanding or knowing a new term. So use an app like Quizlet or use flashcards. Have somebody else read out terms and you define them for them. There's multiple ways on doing that, but always think about quizzing yourself before you then take a test or a quiz at school. So these are some of the basic vocab study tips that I provide to my students, and I hope you find them helpful. Please feel free to comment, provide other ideas that you've found useful in the comment section below. Email me if you have any other questions. Join my Facebook group, and also subscribe to my channel if you want to see other videos like this in the future. Thanks again and happy studying.